world's oldest dog turns 31.
We are, in effect, breeding them to death.
Excellent. Should we find those grouse? Oh, yes. Oh.
We can actually do something about it.
We are tracking the worms until they die.
And increase the likelihood that dogs are going to live long, healthy, happy lives. That's the goal.
I think he's had an incredibly fulfilling, happy life.
Im Hund steckt noch viel Wolf, auch in einem Labrador. Der Wolf muss auf die Jagd gehen, um zu überleben.
My goodness gracious.
Auch Paka geht jagen. Auerhähne.
Oh, gonna find those grouse? Should we find those grouse? Oh, yes. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, oh. Ready? Let's go. Yes, let's go. Let's find those grouse. Come on. Hunt them up. Hunt them up. Yes. Right here. Come here. Yes, come on. And Pucka and I have seen wolves right out on these flats in the wintertime, never in the summer. So there are quite a few wolves in this area. They've really proliferated since 1995 when the reintroduction in Yellowstone National Park occurred, bringing wolves from Canada. And since then, we've got dozens of wolf packs throughout Montana and Idaho and Wyoming. He's chased coyotes and he chases foxes, but if he chased the wolf, he might regret it because the wolf could easily turn on him and kill him. You are... Yes, Pucka.
So you shot one?
No, I missed. The wolves will get a maximum of about 8 to 12 years in the wild. Their average lifespan is 3 to 4 years, and that's because a wolf has such a dangerous life. He will, or she, will be killed by other wolves in territorial battles. They are killed by the elk and the bison they hunt. They're kicked in the head. They're gored with the elk's antlers. They die in avalanches in the wintertime, and they sometimes drown when they're fording rivers. So you can see that captivity really has its benefits. Out in the wild, it's a hard life. And I don't think we have any documentation of a wolf in the wild who's 15 years old. It just has not happened, just because their lives are so dangerous. Good. Okay, sir. Let's go. One of the most important things for me is that people treat their dogs like a servant or a lesser being than themselves. This is probably a personal, aesthetic, even spiritual bent of mine. I like having a one-to-one relationship with my dog, friend to friend, and that I honor and respect Pucka as a being who has autonomy, volition, and the desire to be self-actualized. And so I will do my best to afford him the freedom and the environment so that he can develop his personality, and I have a genuine friend rather than someone whom I'm leading around on a leash and telling what to do all the time. Okay, choose. That one. Is that the one? Oh no, that one. Oh, which one is it going to be? The red one? Oh my goodness, sir. You can't choose. Which one will it be? No? 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 That one. All right. That's the best one. Very good. That took a while. Choose. It was difficult. There were 6 different ones. Yes. Just the way we choose different clothes to wear, eat different things. Dogs need variety, and I do this in his diet by rotating his food through lamb and chicken and duck and bison and elk, giving him different things to eat. I also have allowed him to test all different sorts of vegetables while I'm cooking. He loves peppers, he loves cauliflower, he loves broccoli. For some reason, he disdains blueberries, won't eat them. He won't eat mushrooms, he won't eat olives. He's expressing his choices just the way we do.
Ein Hundeleben. Lang, gesund und glücklich, durch Freiheit und Respekt, durch Bewegung und Ernährung. Aber all das wird zur Makulatur, wenn der Mensch zwar alles bis ins kleinste Detail plant, vom Charakter bis zum Aussehen, aber das Schöpferspielen eben weit komplexer ist, als sich das viele Hundezüchter ausmalen.
After Merle died, I didn't want a dog right away. Merle was my previous dog about whom I wrote a biography, Merle's Door. And for several years, I just wanted to remember him in every loving detail and write his book, which I did. Eventually, though, being a dog person, I wanted another dog in my life. And I thought, I would really like a dog that had some of Merle's traits, being collected, calm, in the house, a very good house dog, but also very athletic, that maybe, unlike Merle, I would find a dog who would actually hunt birds with me, because Merle did not like to hunt birds at all. He had been shot as a puppy. He was a half-wild dog whom I met in the desert of Utah on the San Juan River. And much later, when he was 8 years old, I discovered, after taking an x-ray of his shoulder, that someone had shot him way back when. He was probably stealing chickens or chasing cattle, which in that part of the world is a death sentence for a dog. And so I looked and looked, and one of my criteria was that the dog have a good background, that he was not inbred. And so I looked through many pedigrees of litters that were available at the time I was searching, and I couldn't find one. One of the most important factors is inbreeding. In other words, dogs have too many alike relatives. A grandfather mates with his daughter, that daughter mates with her father, and in human beings, this is called incest. So I'm going to show you 3 golden retrievers who were popular sires in the 1970s. This means that they were used for breeding many times. Misty Morn Sunset, Cummings Gold Rush Charlie, and Holloway Barté. And their genes were passed on and passed on. They were bred hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times until their genes are now rampant in the US Golden Retriever population. They have about 200 some odd thousand recognized descendants. How many other descendants they have, no one really knows. And so when you look at golden retrievers in the United States these days, it's hard to find one who's not related to one of those 3 popular sires. The result is that they've created an inbreeding problem for us 40 years later. The statistic on the mortality of golden retrievers from cancer is very sobering. 61% of these beloved dogs die of cancer in the United States each year. What happens is that gene pool gets narrower and narrower and narrower until the genes that are being passed on are the like genes, which means that when these recessive genes meet, they can cause any of these nasty conditions: cancers, muscle crippling diseases, blindness.
Tyler, you can't make out. Right, make out. Come on. Come on, nearly there. Nearly there. That's a good boy. Good boy. Yeah.
So when he hears somebody calling him, he can't see that person. All he can hear is the echoing in the building.
And it's coming from that direction.
From that direction, yeah.
But
so
not pinpointing it yet.
You know.
Tyler, he's going back to where he thought I was. Tyler! Good boy. Good boy. Are we running you around, are we? Poor little boy. The vet is saying that literally he can see about 2 or 3 inches out of one corner of his eye. So he's practically blind, all but for 2 or 3 inches, which he'll lose, that'll be lost in the next couple of weeks because it's deteriorating even from when he was born. His eyes are practically open and he's just gone blinder and blinder, what little sight he had. But he's trying to home in on the sound.
So how come he's blind?
Because of the blue merle genes. Double dose of blue merle.
That means?
Which means both mother and father carried the blue merle gene. That was in order to make sure every pup you get is blue merle, because the blue merle gets a higher price than the black and white or tricolour. So he's bred the 2 together to ensure that he gets a better, or 100% blue merles.
And more money.
And more money, but what's happened is 4 out of 6 have deformities. Deafness and blindness, which is what's carried on the blue merle gene.
And didn't the breeder know that this is a risk?
No, he didn't know it was a risk. Even though it happened 2 years previous, he thought it's a one-off. And then we took the call off him a few weeks ago saying that he'd got this little puppies and they're blind, deaf. And that he'd taken to a specialist, an eye specialist to be tested. And that's when they confirmed that it's because he bred the two blue merles together, and that is the outcome after the breeding. And I'm hoping he will not do it again. And they don't care what comes out at the other end. And then, like I said, if we hadn't taken them, what would have happened to him? He had threatened to shoot them. He probably thought it was he would have done, yeah.
Yeah, that's a regular thing round here.
That's what happens around here.
Yeah.
Because they're no good to them, they can't be worked. A lot of people, you know, they're not going to pay thousands for a blind puppy. So that's when he said, can you help?
It's almost nothing, or is it nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yep. You can see when he hears voices, his head goes from side to side, because he can hear voices, but he's not quite sure where they're coming from.
His sense of smell's good. If you walk slow, he can keep up with you. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. There. And that's how he'll be trained as he's growing. And he'll stick right to you, which is very fortunate that he's got that in the attitude to want to stick to you. Because he's frightened. He's only a baby at the end of the day. Doesn't like being lost. Yes, I'm going with your little brothers and sister. There. You play. When he's with the others, you can't even tell there's anything wrong with any of them.
They're really cute pups, aren't they? But unfortunately, these pups are going to grow up disabled. And that's because someone was either greedy or ignorant or both. And in some ways, that sums up everything that's wrong about dog breeding. Currently, Merle dogs are incredibly fashionable. They're a fantastic colouring, and that is why people are trying to breed them. But unfortunately, the gene that makes these pretty dogs is the same gene that in a double dose, if they inherit it from both parents, causes problems. Particularly, it causes blindness and deafness. So that's what went wrong with those puppies.
2007 sendete die BBC einen Film von Jemima Harrison, der womöglich so manchen Hundezüchter zum Nachdenken brachte. Der große Rest war not amused. Und das beschreibt es wohl nicht wirklich.
This film reveals for the very first time the extent of health and welfare problems in pedigree dogs.
The dogs are falling apart, and the number of genetic problems are increasing at a frightening pace.
The RSPCA is extremely concerned about the very high levels of disability, deformity and disease in pedigree dogs.
People love these animals, you know, it's like seeing a close relative falling apart. In many ways, I think that's just criminal to allow that to happen.
A dream is about to come true.
In the Dog as the guardian of pedigree dogs is a great British institution.
The vast majority of dog breeds are, and dogs in those breeds are healthy dogs.
But we've spent 2 years exploring pedigree dogs, digging deeper than ever before. And what we've uncovered is the greatest animal welfare scandal of our time.
We are, in effect, breeding them to death.
I haven't watched that for such a long time. It's quite strong, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And it is strong, but when you look back at what I did, it doesn't feel that strong in terms of what I'm saying and how I said it, because it's much more accepted now.
Yeah.
If we want happy, healthy, long-lived dogs, we have to remember that they are dogs, not children, and not playthings, and not bits of dough for us to do what we want with. They need to be able to breathe properly, see properly, hear properly, run properly. We need to not burden them with silly short legs or madly long backs or a stupid amount of wrinkles just because we think that that looks pretty. We have to remember that at the end of the day, and the reason we love them so much, is that they are dogs. The internet allows people to be extremely rude, much ruder than they would be if they were sitting here. And also the dog world seems to be particularly marked by a lot of bitching, even among people who feel the same way. And I think people with too much time on their hands spend too much time on the internet. So I've announced that I'm closing the Pedigree Dogs Exposed Facebook group because it has become an arena where people are just fighting for the sake of it. And it might be something I revisit in the future, but for now it is just consuming too much of my time to run it. So I'll go back to the blog, and the advantage of having a blog is that the blogs are there for all time and very easy to find, whereas on Facebook stories scroll off and disappear. Jakey, do you want a biscuit? Would you like a biscuit? Do not rest your head in the middle of that.
Is he called Caesar?
Oh, Jake, you ruined my flowers. Was that good? Oh, Jake, look what you did. I have 8 dogs at the moment. Jake, we have here on the table with us. Boz, Sandy, Puppety, whose real name is Wrigley, but he never really grew out a puppety. We have Curly Girly, whose real name is Gemma. And we have Phoebe, and there's probably another couple, Tara. I have so many dogs because I run a rescue, and the ones that stick with me are the waifs and strays that for one reason or another were not rehomed. In your own time. I think people are a little surprised to hear how much hands-on experience I've had with dogs myself. In fact, me and my family have had pedigree dogs all my life. Obviously I now run a rescue, and I was running a rescue before I made Pedigree Dogs Exposed. They like it, really. I don't believe that all dogs should be some generic brown mongrel. I don't think that's the way, but I think we have to ask ourselves very carefully why we're breeding dogs, and if we're dog lovers, we have to examine ourselves and question what we're doing to ensure that the dogs that we're producing are healthy and long-lived and have a good quality of life. And I think that's the challenge now. So you need to combine the science that we now understand with all the amazing skills that good dog breeders bring to the party. But we don't need, German Shepherds that are crippled by the age of 6. This boy is an English Setter cross. Now he's now, ridiculously, English Setters are now an endangered breed in the UK and are very inbred, and quite a lot of evidence that they have fertility problems and lower litter sizes because of inbreeding. You know, when people are collecting money, coins, they like the ones from 150 years ago that are bent. It's the one-off that was wrong on when they minted it. And here you have something completely unique. There'll never be another Jake, and I can celebrate him for that. At least I hope there won't be another Jake. He's a trial, aren't you?
Lange, gesund, glücklich. Ein Hundeleben.
Oh, yes you are.
Seit dem Film Pedigree Dogs Exposed können Züchter und Zuchtverein, aber auch Hundekäufer eines nicht mehr behaupten. Sie hätten davon nichts gewusst. Aber hat sich wirklich etwas verändert? Wie viel, vor allem Zeit, muss man investieren, um einen gesunden Hund zu bekommen, der lange und glücklich lebt?
There's a picture of Pucka's mother, Abby, with her litter. Yeah, right there is where Pucka is. And then this is Pucka when he's 7 weeks old. I visited him when he was 1 day old, and then I visited him 7 weeks later and picked him out. There's a picture of him when he was 7 weeks old, and me. Here's another picture of Pucka's mother, who looks extraordinarily like Merle, which is one of the reasons that I chose this litter, just because the resemblance was uncanny and her temperament was very much like Merle's, very calm, very collected. My contention, as well as many other dog people's contention, is what you see in the parent dogs is very likely what you will get in their offspring. So one day I was in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, and I had been looking at litters, and I had heard about this dog named Abby in a little farm there in Essig, Minnesota, and I went and visited the farmer who had this dog, and she was in her whelping box, and she had 11 puppies, and I went in, and she came out and greeted me and was very friendly and escorted me to the whelping box, stood there, looked up at me and said, "Look what I did." And she looked so much like Merle, and she had that calm, really friendly demeanor. And I thought, well, if she ever has another litter. So here is Pucka's pedigree, which I put together with the help of a dog breeder in West Virginia named Debbie Kay, who's a great student of Labrador retrievers. So we did this both with the help of online databases and library material. And so on this end, you see Pucka. Here is his dad, Taylor, who's right in that picture. His mom, Abby, whom we saw pictures of. And here is his father's line stretching back this way. And here is his mother's line stretching back this way through some very famous American Labrador retrievers, Super Chief, Eben Star Lean Mac, Pucka's grandfather, Dewey Drake of New Moon, was the national field trial champion. And you go all the way back to these dogs like Peter of Foscali in 1908, a British champion, and one of the very first recorded Labrador retrievers, Netherby Boson, who was born in 1868 in England, 30 generations back from Pucka. And I used a computer program to calculate Pucka's coefficient of inbreeding, which is a way to determine how inbred a dog is. It's a number from 0 to 100, and Pucka's was very low at 2.2. One way to avoid having the tragedy of a dog dying too young on you is to look at a dog's pedigree, the parent's pedigree, before you invest in one of their puppies, making sure that they are not too inbred. We drove back here. We had a drive that I had planned in order to introduce him right away to every possible stimulus. So the first day we drove from Minnesota to Rapid City. I don't know, it's probably about a 500-mile drive. Went into the motel. He walked in with me off the leash, followed me in. I put him up on the counter. The next day, we drove to Yellowstone National Park, and we spent 2 days there looking at wolves and bears. He heard his first wolves howling. He saw grizzly bears. He saw moose and elk and bison. As close as I am to you, he saw bison right outside the car.
Oh, listen to them. Oh, isn't that exciting? Listen.
I'm sure you would like to chase some of these, but we're not. Oh, see that bison rubbing on the pole over there? See him scratching? Yes. Yeah. So he could learn right away about all the animals whom he was going to eventually to live with here in Kelly. And then we came back and he met right away AJ and Burley and Goo, the dogs whom he has still lived with, who come in and out of the dog door. So in other words, he was swamped with new stimuli every day in an attempt to make him a steady dog who would accept everything possible in his world.
Lange, gesund, glücklich. Ein Hundeleben. Durch Freiheit, durch Freundschaft und Respekt, durch Aufgaben, Bewegung und durch die Ernährung.
Look, there's some elk. Oh, yes. Yes, look at them. Your favorites.
Das sind Teds Pfeiler, nach denen Pukka lebt.
There must be 100 of them, but I don't see any big bulls, just cows. But that's good enough for us, because that's who we eat. Look at all of them in the snow. Oh my goodness.
Pukka trägt auch kein Halsband, das mit womöglich krebserregenden Stoffen hergestellt wurde. Zudem würde Ted niemals Rasen mit Giftchemikalien behandeln, denn Tiere tragen keine Schuhe. Und Hunde sollen nur im äußersten Notfall kastriert oder sterilisiert werden. Das verhindere Krebs.
Pukka, look at the antelope. Yeah, right there.
Glücklich wird Pukka bestimmt leben, wahrscheinlich auch gesund. Aber wird er auch lange leben? Länger als die 10 bis 12 Jahre, die Labradore durchschnittlich alt werden?
There must have been 50 or 60 of them, sir. Yes.